What is up, my brothers and sisters, my agents of respect? It's your boy TreJuanJohnson back with another episode of the No Disrespect But podcast. Before we get started, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Always feel free to comment, but please make sure you keep those comments respectful. And if you're interested in supporting your favorite podcaster, yours truly, the my Cash App is going to be in the episode description, so keep that out. And actually, it's the dollar sign TreJuan TreJuan Johnson, just in case. That's because I know some of y'all don't like to read, so had to plug that in the intro for folks. But man, when kind of thinking about what I want to talk about today, I know we've been a lot of NFL heavy and just football heavy in general. Especially with the college football playoff and the NFL playoffs on the way. And quick shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, both making to the Super Bowl. That's going to be taking place next weekend, February 9th, if I'm not mistaken. And so, two great teams, probably the two best teams in the league. And they happen to meet each other for the second time in 3 years. And trust me, we will have our time in the sun to talk about that matchup, amongst other things like the Senior Bowl and the East West Shrine Bowl. Some of the practices have been underway. Um, Looking forward to talking about, my takeaways from the game, who I was thrilled with, who I wasn't thrilled with. And then I'm gonna do something. I don't know. A lot of people might do it, but I haven't seen it. But I'm going to do a just kind of look at each of the rosters. And honestly, I might just do the Senior Bowl because that's made up of most of the guys that are really trying to make a name for themselves. I'm going to go position by position and just say a guy that I would draft. My favorite player from each position, or the player that stood out the most that I would want on my team. So look for that coming next week. That's probably going to be next Tuesday's episode, and then Friday's episode is going to be a Super Bowl preview, just to give you an idea about that. So we'll have a Tuesday and a Friday for next week. But today is, for any anime fans out there, what we call a filler episode. Is just something that doesn't have anything to do with the conventional topics that we talk about. And today we'll talk about me a little bit. Um, and just a little bit more so about my day-to-day career and, you know, how I got into this life, and for those of you that don't know, I'm the Assistant Athletic Director for Development at East Texas A&M University, formerly called Texas A&M University Commerce, formerly called East Texas State University, and some other names in between. I won't get into all the names that the university has gone through, but I think in November we officially changed the name from Texas A&M University Commerce to East Texas A&M. So shout out to all the folks that love ET, that bleed, that blue and gold, East Texas baby, hell ET. But um, you know, in my day job and just kind of being that assistant AD for development, my job is to fundraise for all of our athletic programs. So we have 14 teams um, and 9 coaches, I'm not mistaken, of those 14 teams. And, you know, it's a beautiful thing. You get to work with coaches, you get to know the student athletes. Obviously, working with my other colleagues who are staff members within the athletic department and around the university. But it's really special to work with donors and supporters of the programs, getting to talk with the parents who, believe it or not, sometimes they're even more embedded and invested in the program sometimes than folks that may have gone to the university or played a sport at the university. And a lot of that has to do, their kids there. But I've had some instances where, hey, the kid's long gone, and the parents, they've loved the experience. They love the experience that their child was able to get, not just athletically, but academically. And so they're always willing to support. And those are some of those special bonds. Um, the main thing I'm responsible for, right? Like I said, is fundraising, but it goes a little bit deeper than that. I solicit what we call major gifts, so that's gifts of $25,000 or more. Then we have an annual fund that I run. We have some stewardship stuff that I run, some hospitality stuff for game days where we're inviting our donors and biggest supporters out to whether it be football games or basketball games, even some softball and soccer games. One, obviously to watch our fantastic student athletes and our amazing coaches do what they do and do what they work so hard to accomplish, and that's win. But it's good to have those folks. Just kind of lay back, enjoy the show, and understand that we love them and we appreciate their support. And you know, this journey, how I got to this point, I will tell you, it wasn't what I expected to do. Just kind of want to press rewind a little bit. Coming into college, I knew I wanted to work in the business side of athletics. I wanted to work on the pro side, and I wanted to eventually be a general manager from a professional standpoint. That was what I felt like I wanted to do. I love the game. I love sports. Uh, those of you that know me knew that basketball and know that basketball is my passion, and so I wanted to work in the NBA and run the organization. Essentially, that was kind of what I wanted to do from a professional standpoint when I was thinking about what I wanted to do once I graduated college. And I decided to major in accounting. And for me, accounting was a pathway to get the business side of things, right? I think everything in life, whether you want to believe it or not, deals with money. Even the most altruistic, genuine, just want to do good by others, business, it includes money. And you need money to make it run. You need money to be able to do the things that you want to be able to do in this life. And so I knew that my accounting degree, and I've always had an affinity for money. I don't know, what can I say? Um, I knew that an accounting degree would help me understand the systems and the processing and how to analyze things and kind of give me that business mindset, especially kind of growing that expertise, knowing that I would be handling finances and trying to understand the decisions of, do we pay this player or do we pay that player, or what goes on into that thought process, what goes into that drafting process of, if this is this a guy we want to build our future around. And understanding basketball, it's fully guaranteed contract. So it's not like the NFL where you can mess up a little bit and save yourself from your mistake. And so those were things that, with my accounting degree, I knew it would prepare me for. And when I graduated in accounting, wasn't necessarily ready to go in the workforce yet, mainly because I wanted my experience and knew I needed the experience on the athletic side at that point in time. And so, got a graduate assistantship in the ticket office at Southeastern Louisiana University, line up, Hammond America, baby. And got to do that for 2 years and, worked under a great boss and, um, you know, understanding, what does it take to get people to come to games? What's that customer service angle? Um, what are we thinking about from a theme standpoint? How do we sell? How do we get people invested in our athletic programs? And like I said, my boss Lori, she was great at not just having you be a worker, but giving you the keys to the kingdom essentially, and giving me that freedom to come up with some of my own ideas in ways to generate support for our teams and get butts in seats. And we were able to do that. We were able to do that really well. And through my program at Southeastern with sport management, that's what I got my master's in. Got to get a little bit more experience of, okay, now I have my business degree, but now I need to know more about the business side of sports and all the things that go into it, not just the management side, but the psychology side and things of that nature. So it was really neat. It was a really great experience. And while I'm in that program, one of my professors, Dr. Bowers, um, she was really helpful in giving us, just showing us experiences of what it would look like to work in athletics. And here at this point in time, I'm still thinking, hey, this is cool, but I want to go pro. I'm working in college athletics right now, but that's not where I see myself. Um, and I know just kind of what I want to do. And keep in mind, folks, this isn't really me. I hadn't even really done a deep dive of what it would take in terms of what's the workload of a general manager. I just knew that that was something I wanted to do, and I'd figure out when I got there. And I remember one day I was working, and our director of basketball ops, G Money, Coach Garland Wilson, over at Southern Miss now, he and I were talking, and we just happened to talk about what my plans were and what I wanted to do, and in telling him um, what I wanted to do and the type of life I wanted to have, the type of not just employee I wanted to be, but a type of husband I wanted to be. At some point, what type of father I wanted to be. And I remember when I told him, talking about, hey, I want to be a general manager in the pros, and he said, man, you know what? When we talk about what you want to do professionally, but also the work life balance you want, you might want to consider college athletics. And he talked to me a little bit about his job as director of basketball ops and the things that he's in charge of. And, with his work load, it was also important that he got time, found time to spend with his son, who was growing. And he offered to let me shadow him for a little bit and just watch what he did. And that was an amazing experience. Getting to see how he conducted contracts, how he conducted camps, and just relationship building was really cool to see. And that got me interested in what everybody else in the department was doing, and especially our athletic director and him being the person that kind of ran the whole ship, the same way a general manager runs the whole ship for a professional organization. It was around that time that I decided that I wanted to be an athletic director. It was something, a collegiate athletic director, to be more specific. And it was something that I felt offered me the career that I wanted in athletics, but also offered me the time and the work-life balance that I wanted, right? And at that point in time, I was madly in love with my now wife, and I wanted to make sure that we weren't moving all over the country. Um, because as a professional GM, you could be the greatest at what you do, but if a new coach comes in or new ownership comes in, or there's you and the coach don't get along, or you and maybe a certain player or a few players don't get along, that could be your job. And I didn't want my family, excuse me, to be in a situation where we're moving all around the country and not having any ounce of stability. And so, like I said, I made up my mind that I wanted to be an AD, but at that point in time, I knew nothing about being an athletic director. I hadn't actually thought about athletic administration and what goes on in that. Yeah, I worked in the ticket office, but I really was just looking at things from the lens of the ticket office and maybe some marketing stuff, but not the whole ordeal. And I knew I needed help, and I needed help fast. So went to Dr. Bowers, who, like I said, was amazing, and just kind of said, "Hey, Dr. Bowers, I career wise, I want to be an athletic director, but I don't know the first place to go to right now. And yes, I know I could go to Jay and everything like that, but I don't even know the questions to ask." And she said, "Hey, I have a friend, a real colleague who works at the University of New Orleans, is the external or internal, sorry, AD at the university, and I'll reach out to him." She reached out to him. And he was open to meeting with me. Got to meet him at a conference, talked a little bit about what I wanted to do, and just wanting to get my foot in the door, get some experience, see what it looked like to run a program. And he had me come out for a few months actually and just shadow him. Saw what he did on the internal side of things, got me connected with some of the folks on the external side, doing some marketing, going to games, things like that, and just getting an idea of every inch of an athletic department, and what I would be responsible for. Um, and I remember we just had a sit down. It was nearing the end, and I was like, "Hey, this has been a great experience, and look, I know I want to be an athletic director. What is it that I need to do to prepare myself for that position? Because one thing about me is when I want something, I don't want to wait a long time for it. And I want to be one of the youngest athletic directors in the nation. And I am well on my way to being that. But at that time, what he told me was, hey, I'm gonna ask you two questions. Do you want to coach? Was the first question. And I said, no, sir, I do not want to coach. At that time, I was 21, maybe 22. I had signed up for this professional basketball league that was just getting started. And so I felt like, I still could play. My playing days weren't behind me. And so I wanted to explore those options as well. And just coaching, just being the age I was, I didn't think that that was something I was ready for, especially from a college standpoint. And pretty much having to lead guys that are roughly your age. That wasn't something I was ready for. So I said, I don't want to coach. And so he said, okay, well, we don't want to coach. You're going to have to fundraise. You're going to have to learn how to raise money. You're going to have to be personable because at this point in time, those are the guys, or those are the folks that are getting these jobs. The folks that can build something and can build those relationships and can generate revenue. That's what people are going to be looking for. And so, with that in mind, with that little bit of knowledge, I started to look for opportunities that would grant me that. And at the time, my girlfriend, but now wife, we had been talking about when we graduated, wanting to move to Georgia and kind of start our life there. We thought it was going to be Atlanta. I feel like everybody in Louisiana either thinks Atlanta or Texas is the way to go. And so at that point in time, it's going to be Atlanta. We're thinking, the Black Mecca and just Black excellence in that city, and just how historical it is. And that was where we thought we might want to be. Um, and so I just started to look for places in Georgia. So I wasn't even really looking at places in Louisiana. The only opportunity that I would grant myself if it came up was either doing something at UNO if it was really worth my while, or staying at Southeastern, and taking over maybe the ticketing position there, or like the assistant ticketing position under my then supervisor, was something that I was thinking about possibly doing if I were to stay home in Louisiana. Um, and so through the search, ended up getting a job offer from Georgia College and State University, which is Georgia's first and only, if I'm not mistaken, public liberal arts university. And they offered me a position, kind of in their advancement department, working with alumni. And was it directly what I wanted to do, what I was looking for? No, but just kind of looking at the job and the transferable skills and understanding that, hey, this is going to put me in front of people, which was something that even to this day I'm not the most comfortable with, which is crazy given my position. But I'm very much an introvert. But I knew that this position, being over events and reunions and things like that, it was going to force me out of my shell, to do my job effectively. And it did just that. And so I took that leap. Actually left a little bit earlier. Was able to finish the rest of my courses online and move out to Georgia, which was tough in itself. Born and raised in Louisiana is where most of my family is. And so to be away from them, be away from the woman I love for 4 or 5 months, that was a little hard. And at the same time, my grandmother was pretty much losing her battle with cancer at that time. So um, I had been, my last day at home, I got to see her, and then 2 months later, she was gone. Um, but not to be somber with that. The My job at Georgia College was awesome. It really did give me the skills that I needed to grow. It definitely helped me with my personal skills and being able to communicate with folks. Um, Hell, I think that's the reason why I have a podcast, just because I got so comfortable being able to hold a conversation, which was something that I wasn't the most comfortable with before I had taken the job. And so I met some great people. Shout out to Miss Pamela Trewick. I call her Miss Pam, and only I can call her Miss Pam unless she tells you that you can call her Miss Pam. But meeting folks like her, and really pouring into me and my development as a human being. Um, Monica DeLisa, who's now over at the University of Vermont, and she being my supervisor. I would say majority of my supervisors in life have been women, and they are some of the most phenomenal women I have been around. So you're gonna hear me mention a lot of women in this story. And you're gonna like, why does it work so many women? Because they're amazing and they do great at their jobs, and they were born to lead, and they do it really well. But she was someone who was kind of a confidant. I could tell her, hey, these are my career aspirations, and I remember just talking to her about, hey, like this role that I'm in isn't something that I want to be in long term. This isn't a 10-year, 10, 15-year thing for me. And I know for her, she wanted me, or she saw a vice president of development or university advancement in my career path. But I was very adamant that athletic director was the career path for me. Got to connect with and work with a wonderful athletic director over at the university, Wendell Statton, and still talk to him to this day. A guy that pours into me professionally, personally, just a great person to talk to. You could be having the worst day imaginable, and all you have to do is have one conversation with Wendell, and you'll forget it all, and you'll feel better immediately. Just as soon as he says hi, you just that's the type of personality he has, and just being able to kind of connect with those folks and work with them, it was really great. And I was there for 4 years. Again, handled all the events, and then you start to meet people, you start to talk with people, and when it came to fundraising, folks were like, "Well, we want to work with Trey, right?" And that's when I kind of got my first um, stint as a true fundraiser. And shout out to Monica for just letting me go with the flow. I mean, it was what the people had ordered, and she was willing to add that to my duties, and did add some pay to that as well. But that got me a whole lot of experience in terms of being able to see um, gifts, transformational gifts from beginning to end, what we call the qualification phase, all the way to the solicitation and stewardship phases. And so utilizing that experience, it got to a point post COVID where I knew I had gone as far as I was going to go at the institution, and what I wanted to do. And knowing I wanted to be an athletic director, I needed to have more direct experience in athletics. And I took an opportunity in South Carolina at Benedict College, an HBCU out that way. A great school, great athletic program, and so I got to work hand in hand with their athletic programs, and truly be the director of all of their fundraising. And that was fun, but it wasn't quite what I thought it would have been. And South Carolina being so far away from home, much further than where I was in Georgia, my wife and I, we had kind of decided, hey, we want to move a little bit closer to home, but not so much Louisiana. So we started looking at opportunities in Texas, and that's how I found ET. Um, and it was a great interview process. Didn't actually quite get the job I'd interviewed for initially, but I got another good position that paid more, and it was along the same alley. And again, working for a guy, Devin, who understood what my career path and what my aspirations were, and that he would do everything he could in his power to get me as close to that as possible. So I got that. I got to fundraise with our athletic department, and have some connections there. And after being in my role as director of development for a year, I had enough cachet, enough credentials behind me to where I applied and eventually got the promotion to assistant athletic director for development, um, which has been great. It's going to be almost a year. It's going to be a year come May, and or come April, sorry. And it's been great. Like I said, the coaches are awesome. I love all of our coaches. Have a pretty decent relationship with each of them, and just love getting to know about them, and seeing their passion and their love for their student athletes, and their program in this university. And of course, our student athletes are great. I don't always get to see them outside of their practices and games, but usually when I do, They're some of the most what's the word I want to say? I would say they're probably the best ambassadors that our university has. Just the way they carry themselves around campus when you do kind of catch them outside of their athletic duty, so to speak. And so it's a pleasure knowing that the gifts that I bring in, they're impacting them. Um, and that's the easy thing about me, or easy thing about my job is that if you decide to be mission oriented and know who you're doing this for and why you're doing it, it makes the job a whole lot easier, and it makes it worthwhile. And so I've had a lot more good to great days than I've had bad because the who and the why have always been in the forefront of my mind. I mean, look, I'm only 30, and I'm excited, about where my career is going with the trajectory, right? And I think I'm pretty close to accomplishing, being one of the youngest ADs in the nation and being able to lead a program and establish a championship culture. And so I'm excited about that. So, the story is still ongoing. We're now in the present day, but it's definitely not the end. And so I had some opportunities to be able to speak at some conferences and to students and folks that are interested in working in athletics. And the one thing that I will say is you have to know your why. You have to know why you're doing what you're doing, and who you're doing it for. And sometimes it's not always about the student athletes and the coaches. It's things that you want to do and what you want to accomplish. Like I know what I want to accomplish, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that I get the benefit out of it all, out of all the hard work I put in. So you have to have your own mission and why you do what you do. And have an idea of what you want to be and what you want to do because you can actually analyze where you are in your career and how close you are to reaching your goals. Had I never done that, I probably would still be at Georgia College right now. I probably honestly would still be in South Louisiana, not having taken that leap if I didn't analyze and assess where I was versus where I wanted to be. Um, Also, I think you want to find um, an institution that has a vision. I'm lucky. We were led by a wonderful athletic director who has a vision of where he wants ET to be. And, whenever I have conversations with donors, they love hearing, where we're trying to be, and where we need to go, and where we need them. And that gives people something to um, tangible to aspire to be a part of and to invest in. And so that makes your job a whole lot easier. But you need to know the culture that you're getting into, and understand if it's a culture you want to be a part of, a culture that's going to help you grow, that's going to pour into you, and help develop you into the person that you're trying to be, into the plate, and get you to the places you're trying to go. Um, and I mentioned this at a conference. You, you can't be afraid to move. Okay. I don't think you get stagnant. It's going to be hard, especially the relationships you build. But if you stay stagnant, so will everything you've ever wanted to accomplish. That doesn't mean you just leave just to say you've left. You always have to have a purpose for everything you do. And look, if there's a place that you feel like, hey, I love it here, they're pouring into me, I can be here for the next decade, I can be here for the next 3 or 4 decades. By all means, stay. Don't just leave again to say you left. But you know better than most if you are getting out of a situation, what you're putting into it. And you feel like you're putting a whole lot of investment into something and not getting much output, well, it might be time for you to move on, and look for opportunities. And so never be scared. I tell a lot of my friends and folks that I talk to that are still in Louisiana and they're thinking about what they want to do career wise. And I say, hey, look beyond the state. Like you can have your preferences. Like I will not work on the West Coast. I doubt I will work in the Northeast, but Southern region, that's kind of where I want to be. And so I've been fortunate enough to have those opportunities. But you can have your barriers and your boundaries, but you still got to be willing to move, um, especially if you have nothing or you don't have really any ties to anyone. I was in a relationship, knew I was going to spend the rest of my life with this woman. So it's a different level of thinking that goes into it. So you're not just thinking for yourself, but thinking for another human being who has a career of their own and goals of their own as well. And how do you work together, right, to where both of you will be able to fulfill what you want to do. But if you're single or if you're not married or don't have any kids or anything like that, the world is really your oyster, and you have to take advantage of the opportunities. Don't be like the man who, when the flood was coming, God sent the police officer and the boat and the helicopter and didn't take it because they were waiting on God to come and get them. He's going to give you your signs. He's going to give you the pathways to get where you have prayed and prayed and prayed to be. And so you have to be willing to pray for that discernment to know when it's time and the right time to get those opportunities. So don't be afraid to move. If you're from your state, it's okay to leave your hometown. It's okay to leave your home state. The opportunities are there. It's okay to leave your first job. It's okay to leave your second, third, fourth, whatever it might be. There isn't a timeline on progress and getting to a point where you've always dreamed that you want to be. And so I know pretty soon, I'll be someone's athletic director. And then I'll be making enough big money to put some stuff aside to where in the next 5 to 10 years, I will be uh, a future NBA governor, as my Twitter handle or X handle uh, eloquently states. And so that's my new dream. Um, the athletic director is in sight, and I know I will get that. And now we're working to being a owner or a governor of an NBA franchise, most notably my San Antonio Spurs. And so, appreciate it sharing this with you guys. If you watch this and you're somebody who's a student or a young professional in athletics, whether that's college athletics or even on the pro side of things, and you just have questions or thoughts and just kind of want to pick each other's minds and each other's brains on what are some things that you're doing or some things that I've done in my career, that we can kind of discuss and figure out how we can help each other. Uh, would be more than happy to have that conversation with anybody that's willing. And I do this all the time. So um, looking forward to anybody that's watching that is interested in this lifestyle. And look, here's the thing: there's no disrespect to anybody. Sometimes people just aren't good enough to make it to where we are, make it to the pros. But understand that I chose this lifestyle. I knew what I wanted to do. I analyzed it. I assessed everything, all the risks. What it would take from me, what it would take away from my family, and I really pour my all into being the best that I can be because I know in the end it's going to help my family and my loved ones have a life that um, we thought was just a dream at one point in time, and making that a reality. Um, so yeah, I definitely chose this life. And there were paths that I could have taken. I could already be somebody's general manager by now. But what would that have taken from my family life? What would have taken from my marriage? Would I even be able to do, no disrespect, but and be able to talk with all of you fine people worldwide? Probably not. And so those are the things that when you make these decisions and you reflect on them, and you can ask yourself, was it the right way? Was it the right thing to do? And I can say at this point in time, I feel like everything has been in order and going the way that one God has ordained it and going along the path that He has me walking on right now. But look, if there's anything that I said that offended anyone, I don't know how I could. Look, it's a good thing. It's an opportunity for me to learn. It's an opportunity for you to teach me. And all I ask is that you keep it respectful, all right? But again, I do want to close again, just extend an invitation to anyone that is interested in working in college athletics, or is currently working in college athletics and just wants to just let's talk, let's vent, let's bounce off ideas. Um, would love to chat with you. But until next time, peace.